G'day everyone. Proud to say Barkarati is brought to you by Radix Nutrition, makers of the most technically comprehensive nutrition products that have ever existed. Unlock your potential with Radix. G'day listeners. Welcome to Barkarati, the Sailing Podcast. My name's Jordan Spencer and it's that time of the week where I get to hang out with some really cool sailors, but of course have to spend my time with my two idiot mates. So first off, let's welcome Mr. Brett Perry.
Greetings, Exalted One.
Not sure where he is.
Hit the crickets.
The crickets. We got crickets. Let's bring in the other bloke so we got someone to talk to.
He had a voice that could make a wolverine purr.
Mr. Nick Boyce.
Good to join you, Jordan Spencer. No, we're missing our partner in crime.
And genuinely
we do
no
have
idea.
various theories.
Yes.
It's so Sunday morning, time of recording. On Saturday night, there was a exchange of photos of various establishments.
Yes.
That some people were in. So that may or may not have something to do with it. Read into that what you will, my friend.
Look, he's either passed out somewhere, like he's lost his phone, or he's been arrested.
A, lost phone. B, been arrested. C, still asleep.
Yeah.
Or D, all of the above.
All of the above.
Deal.
Oh, dear.
What do they say? If you're not at lunch, you are lunch. So
Yeah, let's burn him. Let's burn him. We don't get to, like we're pretty nice to him, but I think he was, where was he, in the White Hart was the last photo, is that correct?
yeah, the White Hart last known spotting.
Yeah.
of BP.
Oh, dear. Hey,
I'll tell you where I was though, Gordon Spencer.
where were you, Mr. Boyce?
Well, where I am currently in Sorrento, Italy.
Sorrento.
Like we've been lucky enough to go to some pretty cool places around the world,
we have.
which is one thing.
Yep.
And been lucky enough, and been in lots of places where there's tourism and you just see how the town thrives on that.
Yep.
I have never seen anything like it in this
Really?
place.
Wow.
The amount of people around
Right.
in this little village, which has about 1 million steps to get up to the main road from the port.
Yeah.
But unbelievable the
Yeah.
amount of people.
Wow.
Amount of people here. And it's just like, it's like the tide, just in and out, just cruise ships, buses,
Really?
going ballistic. Lots of people.
And
but
you're there for a regatta, obviously.
here for the regatta for the IRC European Championships. And check this out though, for so tacking over down the dock for the calibre of boat just on the dock we're on, not to mention the others. And so starting at the end of the dock, we've got Jolt, ex-Cannonball, or Momo, the 72-footer, North Star, 72-footer, Galatea, who I'm sailing with a bunch of legends on board.
100-footer?
Wally Shento.
Yep.
Magic
Shento.
Carpet 3.
Yep.
Wally Shento. Bullet. Wally 93. B, ex-Tango, Wally Shento. Alongside that, Jetu, the 72, 68, 74, depending on the configuration. And then finally the Bellamente.
Yeah. Wow. What a program.
Pretty high caliber, extremely high caliber.
What are you doing
And
there,
Jordan
man?
Spencer,
Yes.
I ask you,
Yes.
what do they all have in common?
Oh, let me guess. It can only be one thing, my friend, with you there. It's all Southern Spa rigs. Is that where you're going?
All Southern Spas, yeah. All right, but it's not about, we're not here about Southern Spas, but
We pay your wage over and over again on this show.
I definitely owe some beers to all those guys on the dock.
Oh, cool. Very cool. Well,
Really good. And before we do go on, I'll chat about it during hot time, but we just got in from a 24 hours, 150 miles, the Tre Golfi, which is, as all good yacht races was dreamt up after bunch of blokes got on the piss and thought, I'll race you to that place, back to this place.
Yep.
And let me just say this one. Ever heard the term snakes and ladders in yachting?
Yep. Yeah, I have heard
that's
that.
how it played out, my friend.
I've heard.
And then you've got all the puns, you one day you're you take the elevator, the other days you take the shaft. One day you're the rooster, the next day you're the feather duster.
Yeah.
Well, I tell you what, by the end of it, we're a bit of the feather duster.
Yeah.
But we were definitely the rooster on the Galatair at the start of the race. But whew, she was tricky, my friend.
She was tricky. All right, well, we'll come back to that, buddy. We'll come back to it because we will talk in depth, because I had heard a rumour that it was all a bit up and down for everyone, and I did know that you boys were leading. So, all right. Again, it's a shame BP's not here. We literally have no idea where he is. BP hooked this discussion up for us. We have pre-recorded the discussion, so it's good. BP will be there as part of that. But whatever. But I'll bring our guest in because the motivation for this one was just to look at participation in a different way. So our guest for this week competed in the Ocean Globe race, which was that full retro thing you were going to be race director of for a little while there, boss, which was, you've got to have the boats at pre-88, I think. It's trying to recreate the 73 Round the World race, the Whitbred Round the World race.
The original Whitbred in Galley.
So going around the world, old boats, no modern technology on board. So all that element,
apart from, of course, safety
elements,
enough on there for safety factor. For sure.
And so we had a quick chat to a person just before this kicked off, just to get some sort of idea of what life was going to be like, and we did a follow up and we brought it back. The reason it's so interesting is because our guest is a young lady, took on the Navigator role on the boat Outlaw, or Spirit of Adelaide, a Baltic 55. She's got a really interesting history and an interesting pathway into our sport and becoming a successful sailor. And for everybody out there, there's always a different pathway, and this is a different pathway, and we thought it might be of interest for you to see how she went about it. So she was a 23-year-old female on a team of 11 going around the world. They did some funny things. We did see some stuff at the start. We made some comment about them going the wrong way down to Cape Town, and they were involved in a rescue, which sort of probably had implications for that. But because there's no modern technology on the boat, having to use celestial navigation, getting the sextant out, having to listen to the radio, getting weather faxes, all that sort of element was part of this race. And for a young person to take on those roles, it was quite interesting. So our guest on Barkarati this week is India Syms. India, thanks for joining us. How was it? Did you have a good time?
Yeah, I loved it. I actually surprised myself at how much I loved it. It's the longest I've been offshore, and very, very confined spaces with a lot of people. But no, I really loved it. Loved the challenge.
Longest you've been offshore. Well, you can't go much longer.
I know, exactly. We were close at times, pretty close to land. Especially leg one, we decided to be the black sheep of the fleet, and we left everyone. Everyone went around the South Atlantic high, and we went off to Africa pretty much. And we were quite close to the coast of Africa, so just out of reach though.
Did you go back with the old theory, which Jordan often mentions, of just tacking on a Tuesday?
Yes. Yeah, I personally felt we should have been tacking a little bit more than we did. We were kind of on the same tack for 5-6 days, and then we'd change. But yeah, no, there was no strict rhyme or rhythm. And especially, I guess you could get away with that considering we had such little weather information. I think that was a big part of the race, see it being a retro race. There was minimal information. Stations just stopped transmitting a lot of the information that we would usually use. So sometimes it was sort of based off of time and what we think is going to happen based on what's around us at the moment. But yeah, tacking on a Tuesday would have been good. Yeah.
Taco Tuesday, tacking Tuesday.
Tacking Tuesday. So
Yeah.
for the listeners, obviously, with all the different things you don't have, is a whole. You're not getting computer models of weather. You're getting weather faxes. Had you used a fax before?
Do you even know what a fax is, India?
No. No, and even I was speaking to BP before the race, and you're given the story of your arm and it being sort of lack of weather information, and you're saying, "Oh, it's fine though because you get so much more weather information now. Back then, we only had weather facts, and it was just this grey blur, and so you're going to be fine." I was thinking, "Yeah, we are also only going to have weather facts, and it is still a grey blur. I can tell you that."
How frustrating is it watching that little piece of paper come out and then all of a sudden it gets stuck and then it's just like this big black blur of blob.
And you're listening, you sit there listening for whether it's got the frequency, and you can tell by the pitch of the sound whether it's got a signal or not, and you're sort of scanning through the different frequencies. Yeah, definitely different to the sort of sailing I'm used to.
So you're right. I met you literally a couple of weeks before the start of the race here in Hamble, and it kind of intrigued me. A few things about you. First of all, obviously your age, and you're already committed to the career that you'd committed to. But the celestial navigation for me, I think I remember a little bit of a chat with you talking about celestial navigation and how there is no chance of me doing it. Because of that goddamn big book.
The book, yeah, big books, plural, yeah. No, it was a lot of work, I will say. I think I was partly expecting to share it a little bit, but yeah, for me, I would say I was protective over it, but I really did prove to myself that you can get around the world with just these books and that there and its broken box. It's got a bungee wrapped around it at the moment. It was good. It was a challenge, and every time we met landfall, I was a little bit surprised they actually were where I thought we were. Proved the system works. So yeah.
It's a bit of an art form. I mean, you have to say it's a relatively lost art form. How do you feel about that fact? Do you think that there should be more people still keeping this thing alive, because it's obviously it still works, it's very important, and sometimes there could be situations where you are caught out?
No, I'm a big fan of keeping it going. I think at least keeping paper charts going, because for us on board at work on ships, a lot of ships, most ships just don't have paper charts anymore, and I think 2030, if I'm correct, they're stopping putting paper charts, which I think is actually crazy. That's insane to me. So yeah, I think even if you just learn a little bit about celestial navigation, we weren't allowed scientific calculators on board, so you really were using the books. And once you do a little bit of it, you do get the hang of it. The maths isn't, you're not doing trigonometry or anything with the kind of cell nav that we've been doing. It really is just plucking numbers from places and some basic adding and subtracting, and you gotta have patience, you gotta have time, and yeah, you'll get there in the end. But I think it's a good thing to do.
Well, tell the listeners exactly what. So you were doing the navigation role on the boat, so the Outlaw or Spirit of Adelaide, the navigation role, and what you had and what you could work with, because I mean you were doing. Like we said, you got the faxes, you're using your sextant, and you're having to use dead reckoning, like I'm intrigued as to what else you had. Like, did you have any backup at all? Like what does it provide for those who don't know?
Yeah. So for safety reasons, we did have GPS and AIS, and also they're normal yachts. You can sail them obviously outside of the race, so they are fitted to be sort of normal cruising racing yachts. But we we didn't have access to that. We, for us, had just a screen that one person checked every single day, make sure the GPS is still running, which would turn on in any sort of incident. We actually did turn on, use the GPS and AIS partway through leg one. We'd had a rescue that we had to do, so we left the race temporarily and then came back to it.
Right.
But yeah, in terms of the equipment I was using on a day-to-day, we actually didn't have radar on a lot of the time. I very much used to having radar when I'm at work, but we turned it off a lot of the time. So I had my apparent wind angle, my apparent wind speed, apparent wind angles, boat speed, no speed over ground, and weather facts, HF radio, VHF, if you were lucky enough to come into contact with another ship. And we were allowed to VHF another ship and ask for their GPS position, and then we'd take a range and bearing of them using our radar. But there were times, I think like 2, and we sailed on the 5th of November. Last recording in the comms log was 6th of November, and then didn't see anything until middle of the Tasman. So
Wow.
it was quite some time.
How did
They
you
said
find
that actually you're only 6 miles away from where you think you are. And I'm like,
Wow.
yes.
Yes.
How did you find this being out there? I mean, it's for a lot of people who sailing around the world is probably not not on the bucket list, but obviously there's a lot of people that do it. And Bison's obviously been involved in that. I've done a fair bit of long distance stuff, same with Jordan. But how did you find it? In the middle of the Southern Ocean.
Yeah. I would say my favorite leg was leg 2. I actually really enjoyed the Southern Ocean, and it just, I feel like we were cheated a little bit because we didn't really have any major storm. Not that you want a major storm, but I think maximum wind we had was like 45 knots. And of course they're big seas, but only every now and again. It was quite calm, and the coldest weather we had was right when we sailed from Cape Town, the Agulhas current and we had a wind against the Agulhas current. So I think that was probably the toughest conditions we had. Lasted about a week.
Wow.
And in terms of the cold, the actual toughest conditions were the doldrums, and I never ever want to sail the doldrums again.
Well, luckily you really went through that section where the doldrums aren't very wide, right in the east of the Atlantic.
You picked the widest spot.
Well, Campbell loves his boat and loves being on his boat, right? So it's actually just
more time.
Perfect, more time aboard.
Yeah, well, for the last leg, because we had no weather information the first 2.5 weeks, which was quite tough. There was one boat that had set up to have extra conversations with the shore station via the HF radio, so they were getting weather information, and it's like good for them because they actually did really well. It's the best they did, and they almost very nearly won the leg on IRC. But for about 2.5 weeks, it really was just potluck with where the wind holes were and where they weren't. And we were just very slow progress for a long time, and very hot. Started a lot sooner than we were expecting.
So India, give us a typical 24 hours on board at the start of the race, and then the typical 24 hours on board by the end of the race, as far as all the systems down, and specifically around your role with the navigation and those sorts of things, because I'm guessing it got more and more efficient as it could be looking through a sextant. Yeah,
well, the very start and the very ends were a little bit different to the middle of the race. Usually towards the end, I'd come out of watch because I was still in a watch system, which was a bit of a pain sometimes because it could be cloudy or whatever during my watch, and then like 2 hours into the next watch, the sun comes out or the stars are up, and it's like, okay, I kind of gotta go and deal with that. And we'd be speaking to each other. The yachts would be talking to each other on the HF radio at scheduled times. So I try and be up for those and hear what everyone else is, because sometimes that was the only weather information we had, was what the conditions the other boats were having. And then Rinza, who was our chief mate, would sort of draw out, do our DIY synoptic charts to figure out what was going on.
Get the crayons.
Yeah, exactly. Get the crayons out, sharpen the crayons. So yeah, the coastal nav was quite busy, especially around New Zealand. I was up a lot of the time. But for me, during the race, especially when I was more efficient, I would try and take, I'd obviously try and get a noon sight. And that happened about what's changeover for us. So I'd either have to wake up a little bit early or wait up a little bit longer. And I got pretty quick at calculating that in the end. Probably 5 minutes or so figuring that out. And then when I'm taking the sights, I try and take about 3 in succession. Usually 1 is enough. It's all good. But sometimes, the waves are so big, you barely get a horizon, or you get a horizon every 15, 20 seconds. And then if it's cloudy, trying to time that with when the sun is actually out. I always felt a bit better taking a series in succession. And I'd take 2 or 3 loads within a watch, try and space them out with a couple of hours in between. And then at the very end, I'd calculate everything. So I was sort of doing, sometimes 9 different site calculations all in one go, and then get a position at the end of the watch. So it'd take a little bit of time, and everyone knew that, okay, that was the nav station was kind of my space. Everyone could come in and do what they wanted in there, but that was the time where I needed to figure it out.
There's a great photo of you actually in the nav station, which I'm going to use for this episode to share. I'm sure you know the one I'm talking about.
So.
Well, you're sound asleep on the desk, I think. Was that
Yeah. So that picture, you can actually see the GPS has the cover off in the background. So that was right at that was, I think, during our rescue that we did in leg 1, where I was awake pretty much for about 30 hours dealing with that. And it's funny how there's no one just off the coast of Africa that really wants to help when there's a little boat that's supposedly in distress. A lot of ships, I called up a lot of ships, and they thought it was a piracy threat and they weren't interested. Wow. But fortunately, I got a hold of a ship, Chemtrans Sea, who didn't want to come very close, but they did come over, and they monitored the situation once we sailed to Senegal, to Dakar with the guy. So yeah, but I was up for quite some time dealing with that and trying to talk to the MRCC, which also weren't really interested. It took about 5-6 hours for them to actually get back to us. And then it was like, oh, I've got no boats to send and all this and all that. So yeah, weren't a huge amount of help.
Wow. It's amazing to think that they weren't that interested in helping, and they thought it was an act of piracy and this and that. You just makes you wonder how many times that actually happens. Like how many people like that get caught in a situation.
Yeah.
I mean, for the listeners, basically, this guy just drifted out to sea, didn't he?
Yeah. Who knows? He didn't speak a word of English, no French, no Australian. So we have no idea. Yeah.
Popped up and said, "G'day, mate."
Yeah, exactly. So it was difficult. He had nothing in the boat itself and no fishing gear, just kind of shaking the empty jerry cans. So obviously difficult because, okay, he could be there. There could be 3 others just over the horizon waiting, and we're about to sail off close to the coast. And that was my other concern was, okay, this one might be fine, but once we're in, we've got to start racing again at some point. So we had agreed that we'd start racing at the 200-meter contour line, which was misread on the chart. So when I woke up after a nice deep sleep, we'd actually started racing a lot sooner than I was expecting. And we're quite close into the coast, and did have another boat come up to us with 3 guys in it, sort of yelling aggressively, but I think they were just fishermen or something. Nothing came from that. But yeah, a little bit nerve-wracking.
Yes, it is.
Well, it is all nerve wracking, but let's actually for those. So we mentioned at the start it's the Ocean Globe race now. So the race is trying to recreate the '73 Whitbred, which is the 50th anniversary. What is the Volvo now? The Ocean race. So there had to be production boats before 1988. There's no computers, no satellites, no GPS, no high-tech materials. You got sextants, so for dead reckoning, HF radio, and weather facts is basically the situation.
Cassette players.
Huh?
And cassette players.
Yeah, the cassette players. Well, I was just going to ask that question. Like, if you want to listen to music, we've made the joke over and over again. Could you play music in a digital form, or did you have to use the old cassette player?
It had to be cassette players, yeah, or musical instruments. I took my ukulele with me. I took my uke with and played a couple of times to the other boat. But yeah, no, it was cassettes, and obviously, I mean,
Serious?
I didn't buy a cassette player before. Actually, one of my sponsors, the Ocean Blue Sailing Foundation, he did leg 3 with us and then left his cassette player. So I had some stuff for leg 4, but yeah, till that point, I wasn't listening to anything.
BP,
Yeah.
missed opportunity. When you met India before the race started, you should have handed over the music for the theme song to Barkarati, the sailing podcast, and she could have learnt it on the ukulele.
Yeah.
Put it on a cassette.
I was wondering before, India, when you were talking about, taking all the calculation stuff, I thought, damn, you'd hate to have forgotten your pencil sharpener.
I know. Yeah.
How many pencils did you take with you? Not to mention for the navigation side, but when your cassette kind of went all ballistic and you had to wind it back up.
Yeah. I was surprised because I was quite nervous that I would forget something, and obviously you don't think about it before, but that is really it. You just got to make do with what you've got. So I would say over prepared. So I did have a lot of pencil sharpeners, rubbers, but it's funny how things go missing. Such a small space, everything goes missing. And
just interrupt. I just need to interrupt for a sec. For our American listeners, a rubber is an eraser, not a condom. Okay.
It's true. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but yeah, for such a small space, a lot of things go missing. Usually you end up finding them in the bilges or something, but there are a few people that I will point my finger at and say that they've moved it, and usually I'm right. It's the same every time.
Well, that sort of goes back to the question about what Bossy said at the start. At the start of the race, it was all, kosher and everyone was, cool. And by halfway through the race, people are settling down. And towards the end, you know exactly the routine of every person.
Yeah.
You know exactly who does what. And so there's no doubt you knew who was throwing your pencils in the bilge.
Exactly. But no, I think to speak on that is that there are 11 people on the crew. We knew one person was going to change each leg, but the 10 people that started the race on Outlaw are the same 10 people that finished the race. I think that is that was a big thing for us in itself. I know other boats, they had plan changes, but I don't think there were any boats that did the whole race that were planning on that managed to do the whole race as the crew that they planned to do it with. So yeah, we were quite proud of that. And I know in leg 1, there were times where I was thinking, right, when I get to Cape Town, there is no way I'm staying on this boat. I'm another team. And then you stop and you listen to everyone else's stories and everyone else's little dramas they have on board, and you think, actually, no, I'm good here.
Yeah, no, it doesn't matter if you're doing it like it's 1973 or it's 2024. If you can go around the world with the same bunch of people, that is a special bond. I mean, I know, I just even on the dock here now, seeing the boys that I sailed around the world with, there is a bond that you'll never never forget. And I can imagine the Outlaw reunions for years to come. You're going to outlive all those guys anyway.
Exactly.
So you'll be
Just me there.
you'll be there. But no, it'll be something super special, something that, and you should be very proud. Everyone should be very proud for that matter.
Yeah, no, and we had such a nice group of people and varied experience levels, but we really were amateurs. We didn't have any pro sailors on board. We were just people that liked sailing, done a little bit of it, and knew celestial navigation, stuck us all together, and somehow, yeah, got around okay.
Yeah. No.
Explain,
what a mission.
just to explain for everyone the demographics on the boat, because it was quite diverse in terms of, you know, you were way the youngest, I think, and then it was predominantly blokes as well. So is that right?
Yeah. So race rules say you need to have at least one young person, which is under the age of 24. So I tick that one, and you need at least one female. So again, tick that one.
Wow.
But we had another 2 women on board, which was, so you got the girls' crew, maiden, and all over that. But I think 3 was quite a lot for the race. Usually it was 1 or 2. And actually a few boats only didn't have any women on board for a leg, which was a little bit upsetting to see, especially as the race rules were quite strict on everything else. You get time penalties or fines or whatever. But as soon as someone broke the rule that you didn't have to have a female, it was kind of brushed under the carpet, which was a shame. But yeah, we had 3 women on our team, and then half, so it was an Australian boat, but it was only about half were actually from Australia, from Adelaide, and the others were, I think we had 4 or 5 from the UK, 1 French guy, 1 Dutch guy, and then rotated with the leggers.
Always a Dutch guy.
There's always a Dutch guy, yeah. Well, it was a Dutch boat, you know. It was actually in the 85 Whitbred with a Dutch crew. So actually, it was quite handy. They wrote a book first time round, which is in Dutch, and about the whole race and about the boat as well. So we'd have happy hour without, unfortunately, the drinks, and Rinza would translate bits of the book for us. Which
Fantastic.
That's a pretty cool.
Did you I was gonna I'll say it. It's a bit of a on your cassette tapes, did they have the best barbecue songs of 1973 for all the Aussies? Still is
We had Men at Work, and we were listening to that. Yeah, Man Down Under was
1983. So let's go back 10 years. You know, like
yeah.
1973 with the bullet. 1973.
We had a lot of ABBA, actually. That was kind of in my head, I've got ABBA playing when I think of the OGR.
What about
fantastic?
Was there a bit of Beach Boys?
Maybe, but I didn't listen to the music. Here's the thing, because I didn't have a player, so I'm sure other people had. Did have some Beach Boys.
The Walkman. Did they have a Walkman?
Yeah.
Oh, Baltic.
The Walkman, man. All right, enough of that silly behaviour.
Yeah, come on.
Let's get to the serious stuff in here. Do you, the ship's log, is this something, you said you didn't have comms for quite, but was it a continued log that either you or everyone would fill out that lives somewhere super special right now? We broke it into each leg. So each leg would start a new one. And every hour we'd fill out the log. I quite often would remind people, not have to, just remind people of how I'd like certain things. Because we had B&G, brand new B&G equipment, but a lot of the time it wasn't quite working as it should be. So our boat speed was way off, and the log usually read 7 miles, no matter if we had gone nowhere, if we had gone, we were doing quite well. Yeah.
7 miles. So I really needed the log to be as accurate as possible with the apparent wind speed, and I based off my dead reckoning off of how strong the wind was from what angle as well, and what tack we were on and everything like that. So yeah, the log was really important, and everyone was pretty good at filling that out. It was only really when we got to land or to coastal waters where it was relaxed a little bit. Yeah, we figured that out.
But just come in here, like you mentioned a little while ago about the paper chart thing, and I'm with you 100%. You can't rely on your electronics, and just for the cruisers out there, the other thing I reckon people should do is, you're used to sailing with a GPS, and if your GPS goes down, you want to be able to know how to do your dead reckoning. So the best possible thing is every hour you should be marking on a paper chart, and you should be doing a bit of a dead reckoning and then checking your GPS just to see how accurate you are.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. And I think it just makes you think about your surroundings a lot more as well. There's a lot of different things. Actually, for leg one, it was quite funny. I also had, obviously, you have your leeway, your variation, and all of that comes into it. I also had a bullshit factor based off of who was helming, and I knew what course we were trying to steer. And
We've got India.
yeah. But yeah, actually, there were times where it was just cloudy for days and days. So the dead reckoning there was a strong chance it was going to go really far out. But it was on the whole okay. So
yeah, I think you said at one stage, after was it 2 weeks or something, you were 6 miles out on where you were thought, and that's about as
5
far.
weeks.
Hey,
5, yeah, 4.5, 5 weeks. It was the 6th of November, and then the 10th of December was when I next got a call from ship.
I can honestly say to you, I've had phone calls with BP on a Friday night where I said, you're only 6 miles out from where you think you are.
And that was after a 5-hour lunch.
Forced laugh, BP. All right. So let's talk about the boat, because you did mention before it's done the race before, but that thing had been on the hard for 10 years, hadn't it? So did it get a big refurb? Is that right?
Yeah, so the Scarano brothers out in Albany in the US had it out of the water for quite some time, and but was in really good condition. We actually bought the boat, not me, I wasn't on the team then, but the founding 5 bought the boat during COVID time, so hadn't even actually seen the boat, which is a huge risk, obviously, but made the decision to keep the boat at the boatyard, and everyone. It was actually quite emotional when we left back last year, and it was about this time last year, because it was really a part of their family, their boatyard family, so they were all chipping in, helping out, getting it ready, and people were quite upset actually when we sailed from there. So there's a lot more. We've got our team that did the race, but the support team, the people that actually got it to the start line, are really just as much a part of the team. So yeah, they had a big involvement in getting it ready, and there's a lot of love, a lot of care went into it, and she's a great boat. She really is a great boat, and we are currently trying to sell her. Hopefully there's someone that will want to do the next OGR on her, and she's race compliant, so, and I think she's up for it. She really is up for it. Yeah, so it'd be nice to see her go around again. That would be good.
Does India Syms go around again?
Oh, I'm keeping my cards close to my chest. Okay. So that's what I'm saying right now. Yeah.
What if Barkarati did a boat? How would we do the podcast? Like, what do we just have to record it on tape and send out a carrier pigeon every week?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Jordan Spencer, because this is a question that I've got for India. Given your relationship that you had with different people throughout the race and the feedback that you would have heard, 2027 OGR, what's it look like from a rules perspective? Are we allowed to take our podcasting equipment?
Well, yeah, so you can every week you have a sat phone call. You have got sat phones on board, but just not allowed to use them. And you'd send your daily tweets. You have 4 per day, and then once a week you have a 10-minute sat phone call. But even for this edition of the race, you could organize to have like interviews and stuff with external companies, especially if it's to do with sponsorship. I think it was mostly for the young people, but things will change, and they've released the race rules. I have to admit, I haven't fully read through them for the next edition, but things will change over time because obviously the sponsorship side of things is huge. And yeah, it would be good to give a little bit more for sponsors. So as long as it's not you're getting external information, I think it will be okay. They'll look to get more content off of the boats. Yeah, it works for them. It works in their favor, I'd say. So I think that's a good thing to consider, definitely.
Here.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you start sailing? Like, were you born into a sailing family?
Yeah, well, I live on the south coast. I live, about 45 minutes from where BP is right now. And my dad grew up sailing, and he kind of forced me into it. I'm going to say forced because I really didn't like sailing when I was younger. And it was only really when he took a step back and let me go back to it on my own terms that I started to enjoy it. And there's an incredible charity, actually, the Tall Ships Youth Trust, based in Portsmouth down here, that I did my competent crew with. And just really fell in love with yacht sailing. That was kind of my first time going back to yacht sailing since I was very young. Did a transatlantic with them and was sold pretty much. Loved the ocean sailing. And I think it was the comparison between seeing how everyone found that crossing and how I found the crossing. I was ready to pretty much turn around, vittle the boat, turn around and go again. And most other people were like, I'm never getting on the boat ever again. So I realized something was a little bit different for me, and I was supposed to be going to university, and I told my parents, yeah, no, it's not for me. Sorry, I'm going to go to sea. And Mum panicked a little bit, but yeah. And at the time I was thinking about just going offshore, maybe becoming an offshore instructor or try and get into racing. But she found the cadetship for the Merchant Navy, get some actual qualifications behind me, and go to sea that way. Yeah,
bit of a grown-ups thing.
I know. It was a buzzkill. I was loving the sailing, and I was no.
Tell us a bit about that, India. So she found this. Your mother found this because she's worried about you getting sort of lost in the void of the world of sailing, but she's given you this option to do your cadetship you mentioned. So tell us a bit more about that, because that's another pathway story.
Yeah, and I think it's so underspoken about. There's a lot of information online once you do your research, but a lot of people pay. You've got all the RYA courses and even like the super yacht courses, the Oslo Watch 3000. A lot of that you've got to pay for, but with the cadetship, you sign up, you can go through an agency or go to a company directly. So I was with the Royal Fleet Auxiliary and paid me a monthly salary, money towards my accommodation, my food whilst I'm in training. And you study meteorology, you study nav maths, celestial navigation, everything that, celestial nav may be less relevant now, but it's good for me now. Everything you kind of need about being a mariner and going to sea, you learn that. You're getting paid to do it. All your radio licenses, you do firefighting. It is a really the training's just incredible. Mixed of obviously with actually going to sea, going on ships.
Okay, so you're being paid, so it is a job. So you have to go and work.
Yeah, exactly. And it's work experience. Some companies you are more. They treat you as if you're in training, and others, I was quite lucky. My training officer changed midway through my first trip, and it was lost somewhere amongst that change that actually that was my first ship, and the new training officer thought that was my last ship, and I should be super qualified. I should be doing everything. So I remember I was given responsibilities and put in situations that I thought I'm definitely not experienced enough for this, but learned on the job, and it was really good.
Well, I guess the old adage comes back into play: bite off more than you can chew, and chew like fuck, eh?
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, and the captain was kind of there the whole time, and I get told to do something, and then sort of looking at the captain, and he's looking at me like, well, if you think you're up for it, then go for it. So yeah, no. But
What sort of boats are we talking here? I mean, what are we talking?
yeah, so I think about 7 months of my 12 months were on tankers.
Wow.
And I was doing some stuff in the North Sea, and I was out in the Middle East, or in the Indian Ocean, then sailed back through Suez, brought her back home. And then I joined what we would call a passenger vessel, slightly different to your conventional passenger vessel, because your passengers are Marines. You've got a big vehicle deck with, you can take all of their kit on board. Yeah, I did about 5 months on her out in the Middle East, in Bahrain, in and out there, and then sailed her back as well through the Suez again into the UK.
Wow.
Fascinating. Fascinating, isn't it?
Yeah. What
Yeah.
experiences you've had. That's super cool.
Yeah. It was really good. And cadetship it started with about 3 months at the Officer Naval College in Dartmouth, and then went to my merchant Navy college. I think start to finish was just over 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what ticket
And
have
for
you
me,
got now?
Yeah, so I've got my Deck Officer of the Watch Unlimited ticket. So
Unlimited.
even though, yeah. So if I wanted to go, obviously, cruise, containers, bulk, whatever, I can do that. But not to be just a walking advert. The RFA actually is ideal for anyone that wanted to join the military or wants that sort of warfare involvement, but wants to keep their options open. You do get you're part of the Navy, basically a branch of the Royal Navy. So you're doing a lot of warfare, involved in task groups, but you still got the Merchant Navy ticket. Can leave whenever you want.
Wow.
So
because I mean, what's your thought? Are you going to just keep going and go on to become a skipper of a ship? Is that what you're thinking? And then become a pilot and, just go grey and top and red nose and just, like all good pilots?
Yeah, well, I actually started posting a lot of what I did on social media, and gained a little bit of a following there, and I've helped quite a few people get into it. And I think I love the industry. There's a lot that isn't really in the limelight about the maritime industry. There's a lot that I think should change, and I'd like it to be a little bit of a safer environment for younger people in particular, and women, obviously, to go and work there and feel like people are there looking out for them.
Sorry,
So
did that ever pop up, the intimidation level? I mean, first of all, being young but being female, did that ever rise its ugly head?
yeah.
Filtered out.
But
Sorry to hear that.
yeah, it will change over time. And I think I'm quite keen to work towards that. Actually, it's International Women in Maritime Day in a couple of days.
Ambassador, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm off to London to the IMO headquarters tomorrow, to go and talk with some people. And yeah, I'm quite keen to go into that route. But for the time being, yeah, I want to go back to sea. I want to get as much experience as possible, talk to as many people as possible. I feel it's not guilty, but I show obviously quite a nice side of the industry a lot of time. We don't post the nasties online. And I know I've had people at college. I was side-eyed by someone once, and eventually they said, "Oh, actually, are you India?" I applied to do the cadetship, but after seeing your videos online, so I just wanted to say hello. And I feel like a little, not a responsibility maybe, but I do want to make sure that I'm getting
Talking
people
to a social media superstar here.
No, not that big. It's
influence.
Merchant mariner influence.
small scale at the moment.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think you should have that attitude. I think you should dream big about this, because we talk about pathways all the time, about, like how people get to where they get to, and there's a lot of people out there looking for diversification in, for whatever reason, and this is a really nice little option. It's something that I've never heard of, and it's something that maybe there's a lot of people out there who could see this as an opportunity to get into this sort of thing.
But I think, and exactly, but I think it needs to be reported correctly, and recruitment needs to be done correctly, because you say, like, what do I think I'm going to be doing? I know at some point I'm going to want to settle down, not just yet. But going away to sea is quite a difficult thing for mothers, and there's ways of working around that. You really can figure it out. But it's making sure that, the recruitment's done properly. I do see a lot of companies, obviously, they're trying to meet percentages, get numbers on women and diversity, which, done correctly, that's a good thing. But I'm not a big believer in just getting anyone just for the numbers. I don't feel like I'm a number. I feel like I'm there doing the job because I can do the job, and because I should be doing it.
That's part of the course. Part of the reason for it is you're learning stuff, and that's probably what's drilled into you from the start. You're not there just to make the numbers up.
Exactly. So yeah, and we're getting there. The shift, there is a shift to figure that out, but it'll come over time, I think. And I just want to let as many people know, report as accurately as possible, really speak to people and get their thoughts and opinions.
I got a suggestion for you, India. The word, I don't like the word settle down when it comes to a relationship. I use the word living up, because
Living up.
me and my wife live up. We have a grand old time together. So I didn't settle. I lived up.
Especially with language like that. We have a grand old time. You can imagine it sitting around smoking your pipe.
In the library.
Got your blanket over your knees.
Yeah. All right, move on. Nice.
Sherry, love. Would you love a sherry?
And Vicey, proverbial father, like Kit Rugrats running around everywhere.
Yeah. Do you, it must be hard to walk into a room and just not go, you know what, I've done probably more cool shit than most people in this room. You ever let your little ego slip like that?
No. Okay. Although actually Campbell, the skipper, in my joining interview, I sort of had a 4-hour before we started sailing together and everything, 4 hours sit down, make sure that we did get along. I got along with the founding five. And afterwards he said, what are you going to do after this? Like, you're 23, 22 at the time. Well, where'd you go from there? There's so much to do. And no, I try not to think about that. Definitely not.
No, I didn't think you would. You don't come across it.
Yeah. I have had a couple of times where it's, you'll learn with experience. Okay.
It was probably an idiot like me that said that. What did you miss most while you're out at sea? Like, with all those restrictions, what did you miss most? Was it?
I'm missing a little bit now as well. The exercise, I would say, the food and the exercise. So a lot of teams have freeze-dried food, which I really feel sorry for them, because it's a long time to be just eating freeze-dried food. We only had freeze-dried for the really rough weather, and most of the time we actually forgot we had it. So people were sort of cooking in the galley, which is probably the most dangerous place on the boat, in the rough weather, and then would end up with a sort of silhouette behind them when the pot goes over and it's just the outline, or they're dealing with flour and goes everywhere. So yeah, the fresh food, missed that a lot. And I did a lot of running before, and I go to the gym quite a bit. And now I'm trying to go for runs, and it's painful. Trying not to beat myself up about it, but that's a big thing. actually.
Thought you were going to say you missed bar karate because we haven't put it on cassettes. We haven't put it on cassettes yet.
The
You
back
start doing
catalogue.
that when we'll listen to it in the next race.
Oh, we should do it. That'd be a good T-shirt, bar karate, with just a big cassette and it says bar karate on it. That would actually be a good T-shirt. I like that one. So what would you do different? Knowing what you know now, like what things would you do different?
For my team in particular, we didn't do a huge amount of reporting for other people. We all partly owned the boat, so we didn't have sponsors that we had to answer to and provide content for. So a lot of photos were taken, but I'd say there were moments that would be quite good to report more on. You film in peacetime, but as soon as anything happened, it was like the camera or the whatever we were using was the last thing to be picked up, which in a way is good. We worked really well to fix things. We lost our backstay quite late in the race, but jury rigged that very quickly, and no dramas really. But yeah, the reporting, and I'd say maybe a little bit the way the watches worked. We talked about, in particular with the doldrums, changing the watches because we were all trying to do 6 hours during the day, but no one's sleeping during the day. It's so hot, and just lying in your bunk or lying somewhere for 6 hours, sweating beyond belief, is not very pleasant. So we kind of talked about doing shorter watches during the day and then giving you more time to sleep at night. Things with the watches mostly. But actually for us, there wasn't really anything major. We were a happy team. We did all right for the boat, our class. Our IRC rating was not great. I don't know if you've seen how we fared with other boats, but
I don't think that was a big part of it for us watching. It was more the fact that
the adventure.
The adventure.
Yeah, exactly. It was more about the adventure for us, and obviously and I honestly like to have done a little bit better. We had translated 9 time, which is insane, but so you think they're out of the race anyway. But yeah, so maybe as well looking at our sales selection a little bit better, a little bit more in depth before the race. Yeah.
So how did you get the gig, by the way?
So it was through the company I was talking about, the charity in Portsmouth that the Atlanta with. I volunteer for them as a watch leader, and a few years ago in the summer I had a skipper who is actually doing his a clipper skipper, so he's racing at the moment, I believe. He was going to be the mate on board Outlaw, and so I bumped into him at a regatta a few months after sailing with him, and he mentioned it and thought that I'd be perfect for the job, and turned out I was. So yeah,
it's very cool.
Yeah,
super cool. Yeah,
it was I think I've got an email and I thought about it for maybe half an hour, and it was sold, sign me up. But I took a little bit longer than that. Obviously, I wanted them to think that I was serious about it. And
would you like to? Yeah, I want to do it now. And you did it in capital letters, the email back.
yeah, exactly. All caps, one line. Sign me up.
We're sort of running out of time, India, so I just want to ask a quick little one. Are you superstitious in any way? Like, did you take red socks or a teddy bear, or you had to tap your nose 3 times before taking a shot?
Yeah, no, not really. We definitely, there were boats that I think they talked about superstitions, but no. And I learned more. I knew there were superstitions. Never really learned the meaning behind it. But no, we weren't superstitious. There was one guy that was whistling away pretty much every watch, which I'm not even allowed to whistle in the house. Let alone on a boat. But,
exactly.
It was a very chilled out team.
That's cool. I'm interested. Have you ever looked at the meanings of sailing tattoos? So have you thought about all the different things that you could have? Are you going to do a tattoo? Is that your sort of thing? I'm not encouraging it in any way.
Yeah, I do. Maybe slightly embarrassingly, I do have an anchor on my shoulder, which is bigger than I wanted, and I think that scared me off a little bit. I wouldn't say, yeah, I like tattoos, but I would be kind of covered in them, I think now. So maybe I'll have a small section somewhere
So an
where
anchor,
just OGR tattoos.
a single anchor means that you've crossed the Atlantic, or was a merchant mariner. That's so. Is that you knew that? I assume.
Yeah.
They actually have a tattoo studio on the training ship
Yeah.
when you cross the Atlantic. Not allowed to get off unless you get the tattoo.
Yeah, exactly. I was thinking maybe I'll get like a little sextant or something just to kind
Yeah.
of all of the tattoos represented by this little one. But yeah, I'd have quite a few swallows and ships and all of that.
Wow.
Jordan's got love on his knuckles and hate on the other.
Yeah.
We quite often get the hate bit.
Yeah.
You idiots.
You idiots. All right. Enough stupidity. Look, I've got to say, I think we remember having a chat to you, and we were quite excited for you when you were going on the adventure with the OGR, but we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us, because it was really interesting. I reckon you'll move a lot of people. There'll be heaps of people listening and just going, wow, this is cool, and and the things you did, and what a sense of adventure. I think, just keep talking to us. We're happy to chat to you anytime, India, because it sounds like you're going to be doing lots of fun stuff. And if not, we'll handball you into a few things.
Yeah, exactly. No, exactly. It's where I go from here. I definitely want to do more of the extreme stuff. I'd love to go up north. I'd love to go down south and round in Cape Horn. It wasn't the first hello and final goodbye. We're going to be passing there. I'm going to be passing there a few times.
Wow.
So
Wonderful.
Yeah. How do people get
Follow.
to hear what you got to talk about on your socials?
yeah, so I post on TikTok as my main platform, as indiarose.ocean, and my Instagram's also the same.
IndiaRose.ocean.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect.
Very cool. Hey, did you see any orcas, by the way? Did you have any close runs with the orcas?
I really wanted to. We went quite close as well to Portugal. We were quite close to the coast. And I think the other watch spotted them and a couple of other boats as well, but no, not for me.
Yeah.
What about our good friends in the Sunfish Union? Any sunfish out there?
No, nothing. A lot of flying fish, or leg one, a lot of flying fish. And that was the other thing that I should say is I was shocked and terrified maybe at the lack of wildlife that we saw, especially leg four, no whales, minimal. I think we saw 2 albatross till we got to the equator, and just minimal birds, minimal marine life in the water, and that was and it wasn't just us, all the other boats across the fleet reporting the same. And I was reading Shackleton's book South is one of my books, and the reports of the wildlife there is just the change is
Oh well, there we go.
Maybe that's your future.
Well, before we sign off, just want a quick shout out to Campbell Mackie at Skipper from the race and the rest of the Outlaw crew. You guys did a wonderful job. We were riveted. Well, we were watching quite a bit, reporting quite a bit, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. So
good. I'm glad.
Thanks for joining us, India.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. It's been great.
Yeah, great to chat. Good on you. Very proud of you. Well done.
Thank you.
You probably can tell I enjoyed that discussion. I think we all did, really. That was it was really interesting. Yeah. So, the lifestyle, and talk about rolling the dice and knowing what she wanted in life. Everything she's done has led to this, and she's just chased it, and clearly wants to do more. And wow, and giving some great ideas to some of our listeners as well.
Wisdom beyond her years is what I'm going to say, and what she would have picked up throughout that race. It's actually funny. Words kind of got out a little bit, despite we think we're famous on Bark Radio and everyone in the world listens to us. That's not quite the case.
1 million listeners. Yeah.
So a few people just even here in Sorrento have said, "Oh, Bicey, who's the most famous guest you've had on? Who are the different guests?" And having interviewed India just a day or two before this gets published.
Yeah.
The question I said, "Oh, you've got to listen to this week."
Yeah.
Having India telling her story and the way that she got into it and the way, like the vision she had and the commitment. Yeah, pretty second to none.
It's one of those episodes that even if you're a non-sailor, you could listen to this one. Like we're forever asked which episodes, if you're non-sailor, should we listen to, because everyone hears about the show. So it's some are pretty heavily, but this is just a great story. It was a great story. Yeah.
And really I've got one for you though, Jordan. Back to the sailing side. Though.
Oh yeah.
Chatting to India, and when we were speaking about the food and the nutrition, all those sorts of things, and she said they were dreading having to eat the freeze dry, but clearly they didn't have radix on board.
I know. What were they thinking? They should have got the radix on board. Some of the
that's maybe something we could set up for the future for all these budding offshore sailors.
Yeah,
to get a bit of radix into them and don't fear no more, my friends.
Well, I've been one of the teams doing the Melbourne Osaka has reached out to me to ask about the radix. So yeah, I mean it's a no-brainer. Like just all the different things. It's faster, it's simpler, it's healthier. And if you go to the Radix Nutrition website and use the code BARKARADI, you get a discount on us. So it's really there's no suffering. It's just all gain.
Downside. Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right, shall we move on, my friend?
We shall. Let's do it.
All right, so let's go to club events. I'll get it in the right order this week. Club events, just over 2 months to the Olympics, Bice. Not a club event, but just wanted to bring it up. 3 months.
As mentioned prior to the show, it's like, holy, we got a bit on coming up.
Yeah.
Time zones work well for us to be on top of everything. So I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to be a little controversial here. Is this going to be one of maybe the last couple of times we're going to see sailing in the Olympics? I don't know.
I'm going to be even more controversial. I don't reckon the Olympics are going to last past 32. We might see 36. We might, but they're going to have to. They've got to work out a way to make, like Brisbane, where I live, or Queensland, where I live. Brisbane, the city, is hosting the 32 Olympics, and the banter going on, the cost of everything. Whoa. Anyway,
yeah,
we'll see. It's great. Like the one thing I'll say about all that though, boss, is our sport is great for offering so many different opportunities. You can go to the Olympics if you're a tiny midget, not a normal sized human being. But if you you can do what you're doing, you can go and just do club racing, the adventure stuff. There's so many different ways to approach it. So, but anyway, we love the Olympics. I want everyone to have the best possible Olympics. It is the elite of the elite. It's absolutely the best sailors who are under 80 kilos. Anyway, obviously we're a couple of weeks out from SailGP in Halifax in Canada, which we're looking forward to. Got a phone call 2 nights ago. Can I come to New York? SailGP New York. I didn't even click was on the calendar. Is that just been added, or have I just been asleep?
Jeez, I don't know. I may have been asleep with you. But in saying that, I wasn't. Yeah, I don't. Yeah, that's a bloody good question.
Anyway, it's on 22nd to 23rd in New York. Because remember, we were there quite a few years ago. First season, I think it was in New York. So it'll be a big, busy, crazy American crowd. The New Yorkers. It should be fun.
On the Hudson. Off we go. Off she goes.
All right. Now, serious discussion for you, bud. But anyway, SailGP, look into it if you're in New York. Sydney to Noumea, May 25, has been postponed.
Yes.
Also, the Auckland New Year goes May 25, and I don't know if it's been postponed yet, but
No, it has been cancelled.
it has been cancelled. Right.
Yeah. Due to the unrest currently taking place.
Yes, the unrest. I love that term. Yeah, things are a bit rough over in New Caledonia. So let's just hope that resolves in the best possible way. Do you know what it's all about over there, boys?
No. I steer well clear of that sort of politics, my friend. You don't want me in the political arena.
Yeah, no, well, basically...
whatever the hell's going on for that matter.
Well, what happened is French Parliament, because it's a French region, French Parliament passed legislation that if you'd lived, a French person that lived in New Caledonia for 10 years, you could vote in the elections. And so the island... people that lived on the island there, the islanders, are up in arms because they reckon that that'll sort of reduce their ability to
corrupt the system.
Yeah, ability to
diplomacy
get what they
won't take place.
Yeah. So that's a big one. Did get a nice little email just reminding us this young lady was chasing some hoodies. So we've had some nice bit of back and forth from Eve Ramsey. At the very end of it, as she's trying to organise all her hoodies and make sure she's got one for her husband and all this, and she said, would you mind letting everyone know the Brisbane Valley Sailing Club Winter Marathon Regatta is on 1 to 2 June in Wivenhoe Dam. Okay, there you go, done. All those other people that wrote in,
look out.
Yeah, you got to order your hoodie to guarantee a readout now.
But I've got to say, it's we're getting quite a few emails in about the different regattas going on. So if we do miss you out, fear not, give us a reminder. But I'd
like more.
Quite a bit coming through.
I'd like more from overseas, boys. We're getting a lot of Aussie ones.
Yeah, a bit Aussie centric.
A bit Aussie centric. So I just wanted to. If you're offshore, make sure you do send us your regattas and let us know because we don't want to just do Aussie ones. I've got a list a mile long of Aussie ones, but I'm trying to sort of be diplomatic. But yeah. All right. Shall we talk about the Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week?
Jack Lloyd Listener of the Week. Here.
Remember this month, we're winding up. Vycobi reached out to us. If you remember Pat, our little mate Pat. You get on well with Pat, don't you? The whole Langley family.
Patrick and I go way back.
Way back. The whole Langley family. Back. What a great bunch of
Patrick has upped the ante.
This month.
Or this month's
correct
Listener of the Week.
Yep. So if you win this month, you don't get a $200 voucher. You get a Hamilton jacket, their brand new Hamilton jacket, valued at $300. It's a ball terror. It's a super high waterproof rating, hooded jacket style, heaps of pockets, high fleece collar, etc., etc. You know a good jacket when you see it. It's a very sleek design. Jump on the website and check it out. But that is what we're giving away this month. So dive in. Everybody needs another jacket in their sailing kit. She's a glamour. Right, we got a lot of emails in, my friend. We've got a lot of emails. Where shall I start? Ian Taylor, old mate of mine, Stringers. How are you, bud? There's some great discussions going on around the bringing back people into sailing. So Stringers, for those of you who don't know who Ian Taylor is, if you use Ronston equipment and, there's some unique new ideas coming out. He's the engineer that designs a lot of them. So he's a pretty smart dude. Recently sailed in 2 regattas, first in New South Wales in April, Dalbora Marina Bateman's Bay Regatta, which is a gorgeous place if you've never been there. And a weekend later, sailed Bellarine. Both were small regional sailing clubs, both events 100% volunteer run. Interesting, the fleets. The attendance demographics were pretty similar when he did a scan around the regatta during the briefings. The Bateman's Bay Regatta, mixed fleet yardstick, general summer, mainly the sailors were 50, 60 and 70 men. Smattering of kids, a few in ilkas and a few crewing on trailer sailors and a smattering of females. At Bellarine, at at Indented Head Sailing Club, which I think we have a great relationship with, Nick, particularly you commode doors, get on well. This was an invited classes only regatta, not meant for full open representation, but still main sailors appeared to be mainly blokes in their 50s, 60s and 70s. Also a smattering of kids with 4 opties and a few more teenagers in ilkas or crewing tasers. Again, there were a few more females sailing this one, but again in a minority. Some of the stuff we spoke about in Ep259 is a step in the right direction. You're grumbling about finding regatta results each week. He mentions the Sailor app. It's a pretty good place to start, at least for results here in mysailingclub.com.au. So, and then he passed on the 10 commandments of beer can racing, which is interesting. We'll come back to that. But I find this interesting, right? There's a theme to this discussion. So that leads on to an email from a bloke by the name of Phil Yeomans. For those who don't know Phil Yeomans, Deck Hardware, he's a man doing a lot of work, him and his family. Got a company called Deck Hardware and selling to all the shops. He was the PRO for the Bateman's Bay Regatta. Plenty of boats, but probably half of the usual for a variety of reasons. So he was just talking about the numbers being down. What he did say, though, one interesting point, re 505s, FDs and Sharpies, they were all beaten comprehensively by Richie Reynolds in his B14, especially to windward, a non-trapeze boat to suit breeze 8 to 10 Saturday and 5 to 8 Sunday. Yeah, so there you go. I thought that was interesting, just talking about the same regatta. And then Ian Turnbull came in. And I'm trying to build to something here. Now, Ian, again, we're talking about the boats, people sailing. Seems to be a lot of focus on new boats and designing and getting builders to build cheap boats. There's nothing cheap anymore. A standard Harkin 30mm dinghy block is £25 in the UK. So you're hundreds of pounds in before you get spars, sails, trolley, foils, hulls. The answer, and it has always been, is second hand. My first mirror in 92 was $250. It was shit, probably 30 years old, but I loved it. Spent pocket money making it work better. We just raced at our club, and a few other lads my age also had similarly shit boats. And we had good racing at the club. It was a bit of an eye-opener when we turned up to open events and had to race people with much faster new boats. But ultimately it pushed us to work harder to do better with the kit we had. When we finally got good boats as a young lot, we appreciated what we had. And then he goes on to talking about his new kids, what he's doing with them. The other advantage of having old boats is you can move your fittings around and make systems work better. So you're not scared of, playing around. I got involved with stripping paint, repainting, did a lot of the work on the boat. Now I work in the marine industry. If I've been given a brand new boat as a kid that my parents rigged and paid someone to fix any little problems, I would not have the interest or skills I have today. Could not agree more. For most people, buying kids the newest, fastest boat is not needed and will not be the thing that keeps them in sailing. Hanging out and mucking, having fun with their friends will.
Yeah.
Any response?
Yeah. Bring back the rainbow.
Bring back the
That's
rainbow.
all I got to say.
Yeah.
But no, he's right. Like just getting out there, getting amongst it. Actually, fun. One of the discussions walking down the dock here in Sorrento, and I'm part of this as well. It's the same faces that were there 20 years ago, 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And I quite often bring this up with various people, and everyone's saying the same stuff, but the answer, whilst we don't know the correct answer, but first thing is the expectation of some young kids these days on the amount of money. This is more towards the professional end they want to earn, as opposed to just starting off, picking up a broom, getting stuck into it. You're not going to start as tactician and win the Falling World Championships in day one. So, it's all relatable.
Well, the other thing, remember we talked about doing more adventure racing, and I think it was last week we had this discussion and I think the idea of putting more adventure elements in where it's less about the winner and more about the fun element means the older boats have a place. And I agree, like the more boats you can get out there, the better. And so having old boats come back out of the shed is a great thing. So I think that's good. There's another element to this discussion that I want to continue on with. I want to throw another thing into the discussion. Got a few emails from the Barney family separately.
Yeah.
I don't think they realise they've all sent me emails this week. So I got Andrew and Carmen sent me one, and then Hayden sent me one. But just a few thoughts on having kids in sailing. Yeah, an empty wallet, and they're still sailing. So they've got a whole bunch of kids and great kids. Do a lot of work. They volunteer. They coach. They do everything around the club. They name one of their kids Jordan, so they're quite smart parents. They use their trailer sailor. They've got an Elliot 7, and the kids go and race the Elliot by themselves together. So have a lot of fun. One thing they said they want to get more schools involved. Teams racing ticks all the box for introducing kids to sailing. There's quite a lot here, so I'm sort of speeding past most of it. What mostly turns us off going racing is putting an entry in. It seems you need a day off of work to fill out all the paperwork. The latest addition to a recent regatta was a parent consent form for our kids to sail on our own boat. Oh, my God. What happened to the days of being at the pub the night before the regatta and inviting someone along for a race? No membership or Australian sailing membership. God, we don't want to bag Australian sailing. It's coming across like that. I don't want to do that to start with. But they do join after having a great time. We need to stop overcomplicating things. All right. I really wanted to discuss this because it's spot on. All the administration, I haven't sailed my fin at RQ for, I just don't get to go sailing. But I've got to complete like a full 3-page safety checklist. I've got to go through and do all this sort of stuff. I have never got, I'm never down. I don't even go down to the boat. So I've got to do all these tiny little things. The boat's legal, but I haven't completed the checklist, and I'm never going to get it done. I don't blame.
There is a lot of admin. I'm hearing this.
There's a shit ton of admin, but I do not blame Australian sailing. I don't blame administrators. I blame the insurance industry.
Sure.
Okay, so everyone's trying to do all the safety element and all the legal liability and the risk. So that is definitely happening and is definitely turning people away. But I think it would be across all sports. I think the problem is a big one. Like that whole thing of just rocking up and going for a sail, that's gone now. You need to do all that paperwork, and you need to have your numbers, and going into like a Sydney Hobart or something like that. How much paperwork you got to do, and all the phone calls that happen and all that sort of crap. But I think it's the insurance industry is pushed that onto us.
Whether they've pushed it, but then it's a little bit the administrator is too scared not to simplify it too much in case they miss dotting the I or crossing the T, and then they end up in trouble. So
yeah,
it's a bit going on.
I guess,
but I agree. It's
if we could simplify it and make it easy, that would be good. It would be good. Like in triathlon, you used to be able to just sign. You'd be able to turn up and you just sign. Like if you weren't a member, you didn't have insurance, but you paid an extra $10.
Become the member for the day.
Yeah, you
exactly.
did the daily membership or something. That's how they did it.
Yeah.
So I'd be interested to see if we can come up with something like that.
Ole, 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 ole. Feeling hot, hot, hot.
It's hot time with Bice.
Feeling hot, hot, hot.
God, I hope you're funny, Bice, because that was really it was pretty serious conversation.
Very serious. Well, now I'm a bit dubious about talking about this one a little too early.
Righto.
But has, bugger it, I say.
Right.
Has the ultimate reverse curse played its part?
I know where you're going here. I think we are seeing the greatest. Could it be
the greatest dominance in sailing history with the reverse curse?
Could it be compensation?
There should be compensation coming our way.
No. I mean, the reverse curse forgot to help the US sailing sail GP team, right, in the US.
Oh.
In Bermuda. It forgot to help them.
Overcompensating.
It's come back and it's just trying to It's trying to compensate.
Get itself back on track.
Yeah. What are you talking about?
Of course, we're talking about the Worrell 1000. Worrell 1000. Well, Jordan, you keep a close eye on this.
I do.
How far in are we exactly?
Like 6 legs, I think. 6 legs.
Yeah.
So the last one, as we're recording, was the one to Folly Beach, from Tybee to Folly Beach. So the next one that goes today is when you wake up the next one tomorrow, once this gone to air, is Folly Beach to Surfside. Wow, what a performance! Like, I know what you're alluding to, but do you want to run with it or what?
Yeah, I think let's put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to before the show, you spoke about it, Jordan. You had a look at the times. Do you mind just telling our listeners what we're alluding to here?
Okay, so the way the Worrell works, it's a tally of time. It's like the Tour de France, where your time just keeps adding and adding, and the person with the lowest time is the winner. So leading overall in first place is Australia 1, Team Australia 1. So they're on 42 hours, 1 minute and 27 seconds. And in second place is the Sirius sailing. So 43 hours, 18 minutes, 29. And then Australia 2, not the America's Cup boat, but 43 hours, 50 minutes, 11. Then Rudy's TCD, YC, out in the 45 hours is where they're at the moment. So that Australia 1 team is fantastic performance. But if you went back and listened to previous episodes, only a couple of episodes ago, we spoke, was it last week? Yeah, last week for the start of the race.
Yeah,
we spoke to Brett Burville, who's sailing with Max Putman on Australia 1 on their Windrush Edge.
Windrush Edge. Absolutely. So congrats to those, and we'll be keeping a close eye on the finalisation, which finishes in around about a week's time. So hopefully they can keep the hammer down. Reverse Curse just keeps kicking them away, and they take the win.
It's amazing how we take all the credit for everything.
100%.
Yeah, very excited.
Cool. Let's move down to the Southern Hemisphere, just pretty close to, where we've all hung out previously, is with the last Act 4 of the Palace Capital TP Cup in Australia.
Oh, yeah.
Matador continues their dominance of this particular series of events, with a clearly winning on 10.5 points ahead of Zen on 21. I'm not sure where the half point came from, whether it was just the timings or not, but they took another win. They'll take out the whole cup, as it turns out. Zen second, Quest third, Hooligan fourth, Second Men's Business fifth. So another hotly fought battle within Pittwater. 11 TPs on the line.
Amazing, isn't it? And a very flash one just came onto the market, boss.
A very flash one, especially if you like orange.
Yes, gorgeous looking.
So, yes, the Secret Men's bit disappointing.
I know.
Hopefully no one buys it and we can still do Adelaide Lincoln next year, the annual pilgrimage.
Poor bitch.
No. For anyone out, honestly, it is a fantastic boat, both inshore and offshore. So it's going to do someone some pretty. Put it this way, I think that boat has the supreme reverse curse. Yes. So if you don't buy it just for, you got to buy it just for that.
For the reverse
curse. At the end of the day.
Do we know what Betch is going to do after? Is he done?
No, we're all frantically looking. Don't worry, there's been suggestions.
Okay, copy. Good.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, let's move back up. Well, let's go the transatlantic. The CIC Transat. Oh, yeah. Just a bit of news in. Clarice has just crossed the finish line into New York. Well, she'll be in New York now, just in time, ready to turn around and go back. Just reload the boat with the Radix Nutrition, off she goes.
Yeah, it's quick turn.
But did some repairs, got the boat back on the water, but she now qualifies for the Vendée.
Yeah,
which is the important thing.
It's exactly right. Very important. So yeah, it is very much a quick turnaround. So I was, it's only like 10 and a half days till the New York Vendée Les Sables d'Olonne. How good is my French?
We.
It's back. So you know it'll be back on. But as you said, qualification for the Vendée, it's a big one this year. So congratulations, because that poor lady has gone through so much to get where she's got to.
Been through quite a bit in the last couple of years.
Yep.
So whilst let's cruise back across the Atlantic,
Right.
go via the attacked by an all and make our way into the Mediterranean for just some observations. World, we've got the Prada packing up shop in Cagliari, moving to Barcelona. We're starting to see the 75s out there.
Yep.
Starting to see them, well, let's see when they line up, but they're getting all their systems in place. They're sailing them hard. The cyclaws are just getting tougher and meaner, more power. So we watch with interest, my friend.
Look, there's so much to talk about. We're going to do another episode just talking about the boats. Tom, if you're listening, we'll give you a call, mate. There's so much to talk about.
Yeah, where do you start? I mean, the tech side,
well,
the logistics side,
obviously we're
the sailing side.
I don't know. I'm really interested to see how it's all going to play out. Like, there's so many different things going on. Exactly as you said, there's so many different elements that you can focus in on, and but I can't wait. Can't wait for the cup. Obviously,
we'll do a couple of cup specials.
That being said, there's people out there going, "Oh, I wish it was back in the 12 metres, slow boats, match racing." I'm 100% in that camp as well. I love proper match racing, but I embrace this as much as anyone else. So, you know, I think I just can't wait. I love the technology element. That's what the cup's about. There's plenty of match racing on to watch. So, yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, just from my side, the Tregolfi, as spoken about in the intro.
Yes, mate.
You
were kings. You were the kings.
We were the kings.
Yes.
We jumped out of the blocks, led the race up, and put it this way, the forecast was not good. 150 miles, 24 hours on a 100-footer. You know,
it's not fast.
That doesn't equal. The average boat speed is not too high.
No.
But essentially, there was probably a bit more breeze than predicted. But with breeze, there's a lot of islands and there's a lot of holes and there's a lot of dead spots and there's a lot of parking zones. We were pretty good at finding several parking zones.
My Lord.
Leading the fleet, and then you get the people behind, especially now with AIS and all sorts of things, they can literally see where you are, especially at night, in the hole, go around the outside. And that happened on several occasions to several boats. So it's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes, my friend. And then, of course, so pretty much sailed the race in, 6 to 10 knots the whole way. And then at the end, massive showers, rainstorms coming through. Last 5 minutes had up to 30 knots.
Unbelievable.
On a J1 full main, you can't reef, whatever. It's not much fun.
But you can't reef.
All good. Good banter. Good banter on the rail to the Galatea boys.
Oh, yeah?
Quick shout out.
Oh,
yeah.
I love it.
I think at one point I said, I'll just do this for the banter. Like playing golf. I don't really care about, of course you care about the result.
Yeah, but.
And I care, but just for the banter on the rail. Just love it. So,
yeah,
all good.
I think that's great.
But I've got this one for you, Jordan Spencer. Walking down the dock here, there's you'll remember the class. It's Swan. I don't think you've ever heard of it, maybe. Swan 65. Suwali, who won the 1973 Whitbred race.
Oh, yeah.
So, same boat. There's a boat here, just looks beautiful. They've done it. Awesome refit on it. New deck, flush hatches, looks fantastic.
Wow.
Sherlaff, Swan 65, took the win overall. So,
wow.
shout out to Giuseppe Patini. That's one of the best Italian names you're ever going to get.
Giuseppe
But
Patini.
they took out the win ahead of Blue Oyster and then Molyneux. So on IRC. So well done to them. And now we kick off with some inshore racing, mixture of coastal and windward lords taking place literally as people are going to be listening to this. So
Yeah,
keep an
well,
eye out.
you've got a rush in a couple of minutes, basically, don't you? So
Yeah, basically, yeah.
it's best of luck, mate. You living the dream. For every young listener out there is just going, I wish they were Bice. But you don't really.
Well, you don't wish you were Bice if you went to the steakhouse we went to last night and got the bill. We found the most expensive steakhouse in Sorrento, put it that way.
Oh dear. I'm not making any comments about steak.
Life's good.
Yeah.
Lots of good stuff. Shout out to all the Barcaradians that I see down here and the future Barcaradians for that matter.
Yeah.
And when I say Barcaradians, you got the likes of Joey Newton, Penny Reid, Murray Jones from Galata. Like there's Sci-Fi, Daryl, Nettie.
Yeah.
No, there's a. Yeah, I might produce a list.
You have to
this week.
Have to.
Yeah.
Oh well, do some recruiting while you're there, my friend. Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I got to say, really impressed with BP. No swear words, nothing, no mistakes so far.
No speaking over anyone.
No. He's been on fire today. So congratulations, BP. Well done.
Well done. High five yourself.
Yeah, high five yourself. Great episode. Thank you very much to India Syms. Life is good. We'll put, you heard all her socials on the show, on the app. But yeah, we'll go. It was a good week. We can just sneak off and you have a great regatta. And
slide on by and we'll be... See you same place, same back channel.
That's it.
You used to say.
That's it. All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. And remember, jump onto Radix Nutrition and use the Barcarati as the discount code and get some performance through health with Radix Nutrition. Maybe BP's recording a new song.